Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being here. I'm not sure who to address these questions to, but I'm going to just pick on one particular program that seems egregious to me, and that is the F-35. I've got this GAO report here, and if you're familiar with things like operational readiness rates or mission capable or fully mission capable, then you're going to know what I'm talking about, and I think we probably can get through this. But I'm looking at three variants, the 35 Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie, and I'm looking at mission capable rates by variant. So you know the different services branches use different variants. The high water mark for the 35 Alpha, this is mission capable, is about 70% in 2020. Looks like 2023 we're about 50, a little over 50%. 67% high water mark for the Bravo, and at about 60% in 2023 for the Charlie model. We've gone from 56 mission capable percent to about 62% in 2023. Then we get the fully mission capable, and I'm going to use some kind of just anecdotes to explain to my colleagues what that might mean. But for the Alpha model, we're down right now in 23 to 36%. We're at a midpoint now for the Bravo variant at 14.9%, so 15%. And we're up on the Charlie model from about 7% in 2019 to a whopping 19.2%. So what that means, fully mission capable, we used to go to the range. You had one aircraft that would fire rockets. You had another aircraft where the minigun would work. And so you had to qualify in rockets and you had to qualify in miniguns. So you would fly that one to shoot this weapon system, fly this one to shoot that weapon system. Maybe your transponder works in this one, but it doesn't work in that. There's something that doesn't work, but it means the aircraft is not fully mission capable. And we're looking at all these variants, the best of which right now is at 36%. Now, this aircraft's been around, the program's been around for about 20 years. First flight took place in 2006. We're talking about a $2 trillion cost to own and maintain these aircraft, which is way above budget. And it appears to me the answer from the commands and the contractor is to just fly less, and then they can meet their requirement. We're going to fly less. And you know, God bless these contractors that make these awesome weapon systems. It's awesome when they work, but it's not awesome when they don't. And you know, when you're facing the enemy and you need to go to missiles, but you only got guns, that's not helpful at that moment. The focus needs to be on the warfighter, right, and what they need. And as a guy who spent a lot of time in the seat, there's one thing and one thing alone that makes proficient aviators, especially under duress, and that is time in the seat. And so reducing time in the seat so that the aircraft can meet cost projections, like, I don't know how to say this, but imperils the very people that the aircraft was built for. It imperils the mission. It defies what the hell we're doing here. And so my question for you in the macro sense is it time? Look, no one wants to say this. This is like saying Voldemort, right? But is this aircraft are we beyond the point of just throwing bad money after more bad money or good money? And at what point do we say, we've made a mistake here, it's time to move on? We like our aviators, these pilots, they're going to be non-proficient because the aircraft aren't capable of doing the job, or they're going to be non-proficient because they're not flying them, because we got to meet cost estimates. What the hell's the answer here?
So, Congressman, you're absolutely right. Those mission-capable rates are about half of what they should be. And if you look at other aircraft, older aircraft that are comparably employed, they would have much higher mission-capable rates. It's a much more complex airplane than I think anybody expected it to be. And the requirements they established for it set it up to fail in this way, because it's just so complex, it's so sophisticated, it's got so many potential failure modes that it creates a situation where when it gets out to the field, it's expensive to operate and maintain. And then beyond that, it has a lot more opportunities not to work. So we've set it up for failure in this way. The F-35 was supposed to be the bulk of the fleet. It was supposed to be the
thousands of
the
them
replacement for the F-16 and for basically your daily driver. It's no longer that way. We now have to treat it like a special aircraft that we employ for certain situations where we need stealth or sensor fusion or the capabilities it offers. And we're having to buy other aircraft to be the things that fly around the flagpole and do the general operations, the air superiority that we need, F-15EXs. The Navy was buying more F-18s for a while. We may find ourselves buying more F-16s. That's what happens is we end up with this high-low force or expensive, less expensive force in the aviation community just to fill out the air wings. But that's a situation that we set up by asking for this airplane to do too much in too short a time with technology that wasn't ready to measure up to those missions.
And I know I'm way over time here, we got to go vote, but you've kind of described the problem, maybe better than I have or whatever. But what's the answer? Like, do we keep investing in this thing? Or do we just say, look, we can only afford one Ferrari in the garage for the days we want to go fast, but on the other days when we got to go to the grocery store and pack up the station wagon, we got to buy these other, what is the answer?
We'll have to probably buy fewer of them going forward and buy other aircraft to begin to fill out the air wings and get those cheaper flight hours. Moshe?
If I can just add, I just want to mention one thing that my colleague said, which is it's set up for failure. I think too often in the Department of Defense, we are setting them up for failure. Right? And it's a lot of people. So in this case, F-35, it was the requirements. Too often the requirements are setting up for failure. For the CVN-78 with the Gerald Ford class, the cost was setting it up for failure. The cost estimate of the Navy was below 50%. You're going to have cost estimate, not because someone's doing something wrong, because your estimate is unrealistic. And I think to take a step back from this program, one thing to consider and one answer is let's re-examine how we're costing, how we're budgeting, how we're looking at requirements, so we start right. Because once you start wrong, you've already baked in problems.
Just quickly, we should avoid programs that are too big to fail at all costs. This was overly ambitious. This should have been 3 separate programs for the 3 separate aircraft.
I yield.